Okay. Thank you, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you to the Beloit community and candidates for attending the first annual Spring Candidate Forum. This forum is co-sponsored by Wisconsin Policy LLC and Eyes on Beloit School Board. Thank you to the School District of Beloit, who's providing video support and the venue for us tonight. My name is Tori Champany, and I've been invited by the sponsoring agencies to serve as your moderator this evening. We do have all of our City Council candidates with us this evening. Yusuf Adama, Sherry Blakely, Nancy Forbeck, Lori Marshall, and Kim Nightingale-Schneider. A little bit about forum procedure. To start, each candidate will have 1 minute for opening remarks. Next, we will have our question rounds. Candidates were provided the questions ahead of time. One of those questions will be drawn at random for each individual candidate to answer. The order that you're sitting does not matter, since each candidate will not answer the same question. You will each get your own question. Your initial response to the question will have a 2-minute time limit. After that initial response, I will ask if anybody has a rebuttal response. If a candidate would wish to speak on the topic, please raise your hand nice and high so I can see it, and you will have just 1 minute to respond if I call on you. We will have a maximum of 2 rebuttal responses per question. I am keeping track so that we spread that opportunity around. After our question session, each candidate will then have 1 minute for closing remarks. Marianne is sitting over here at the desk. She will hold up a sign when you have 20 seconds remaining, and then when your time is up, she will hold up a stop. I will interrupt you if you didn't see the stop and you're still talking, so bear with me on that. Any questions before we begin? Okay. We're going to start down on the end with Yusuf Adama with a 1-minute opening.
Hello, my name is Yusuf Adama. I've grown up in Beloit. It's a city that I've very much come to love after having lived in a couple other cities growing up. It's the first place that we really called a home. I've done a lot of community service here and also worked in a lot of fields that put me in contact with a lot of people and helping them find resources, and being a paraeducator and helping people access their voting rights and helping all types of different initiatives. It's been an honor and a privilege to be on City Council for this last term, and I hope you vote for me again. Thank you.
Thank you. Sherry Blakely.
Thank you. I am Sherry Blakely. I can check my name tag if I get too nervous. I'm finishing up my 4th term on Beloit City Council, which means I'm in my 8th year of service on the council. I've lived in Beloit for 50 years. Serving the community in city government is very important. I have a lot of empathy, I am told, and I am open-minded, but I have a firm backbone when it comes to government. I work hard to research all the important information before council is called on to make a decision. I make up my own mind based on the facts and input from city staff and the community. I don't just go along to get along. When needed, I argue my own point of view and work then to find consensus among the council members. We've made a lot of progress in Beloit over the last 8 years toward improved employment opportunities, reducing the crime rate, and much more in making Beloit a better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy Forbeck.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nancy Forbeck, and I've been around out in the community for a long time. I grew up here. My parents were both teachers here. I started my life out as a teacher. Then eventually I did some entrepreneur work, and after that I was at Visit Beloit. I was responsible for the first 5 Riverfests where Beloit responded so beautifully. We sometimes had 3,000 volunteers working at Riverfest. So again, I love Beloit and I'm proud of it, and I want to continue hopefully working for you, which I always try to do. I'm proud and I'm happy and I'm experienced. So I'd love your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori Marshall.
First of all, I would like to thank both Wisconsin Policy Monitor and the Eyes on Beloit School Board for hosting this candidate forum and allowing us to speak here today. My name is Lori Marshall, and I am asking for your vote on April 1st. I am very proud to call Beloit home. While I love the whole city, the west side of Beloit has a special place in my heart. I live in a quiet neighborhood facing the beautiful Kruger Golf Course with my husband of 39 years. In that home, we raised 2 children who both graduated from Beloit Memorial. I have 2 grandchildren who also live in Beloit. I graduated from Blackhawk Tech with a degree in accounting in 1987, and I have worked in a variety of small businesses, recently 20-plus years with Grover Woodcrafters. I currently serve on the Rock County Board of Supervisors representing District 11. I am running for City Council because I feel there needs to be more transparency and accountability to the residents and taxpayers of Beloit. The everyday people who do not feel heard or represented need a voice and to be included from day one in decisions affecting their neighborhoods. Thank you.
Kim Nightingale Schneider.
Hi, my name is Kim Nightingale Schneider. I'm from Beloit, graduate of Beloit Memorial in 1994. I'm a speech pathologist here in town at the Lincoln Academy, and I've served in Beloit in different areas, Beloit Youth Hockey Board of Directors and Girl Scouts. Also, I've been a bus leader for the Vets Roll since 2015, which I'm very passionate about. Some of the things I'd like to do on Beloit City Council is focusing on community safety, supporting local first responders. I want to ensure that tax dollars are spent responsibly so that they get the best equipment and technology that they deserve and need. Fiscal responsibility. I know that every dollar the city spends is money that taxpayers work hard to earn. I also want to grow Beloit, making sure that we're supporting our local businesses, but also for attracting new businesses, we need to do things that families want, so that I want to make sure that local facilities and activities in Beloit are supported. I'm excited to run for Beloit City Council and building on the successes of the previous boards.
That's time, Kim, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, we're going to start with the question round, starting with Yusuf. Again, remember, I will draw a card out. When Yusuf completes his 2 minutes, I will see if anybody else would like to respond with 1 minute. I will only be able to take 2 people for each question. So please raise your hand nice and high so I can see you when the time comes. Okay. Citizens have expressed frustration with the increase in commute times resulting from decreased traffic lanes on main roads. What is your response to these concerns?
I would first ask how one knew that the increased traffic times were the result of decreased lanes. As far as I can tell, there doesn't seem to be any actual relationship between like decongesting traffic and adding more lanes of traffic. In fact, sometimes it can do the opposite. I think if we want a more walkable and more drivable city, we have to look at making sure that our lanes and everything are really well maintenance and put together, and also increasing our use of public transportation and rideshare programs and things of that nature. Those things actually decongest traffic and could help a lot. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Thank you, Yusuf. Would anyone like to respond?
I would.
Sure, Sherry, go ahead.
Thank you. One of the possible questions that this forum has is about expanding youth programs in Beloit. We all know most children do not drive cars, at least not cars that are allowed on the actual roadways. If the moderators want us to be serious about expanding youth programs, we need roads and transportation options that make it safe for people to attend these events. That means supporting bike lanes, making safer and more narrow road designs. We can't have one without the other. Additionally, businesses vote by how they hire and where they locate. In the past 4 years, we've created over 1,000 new jobs in Beloit. Before I was sworn into council, our unemployment was well past 6%. Today, it's just 3.4%. So our changes are making a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure, go right ahead, Lori.
I hear the frustration, and I feel it too. As a West Side resident, I'm one of many stuck crossing town during school hours because of closed schools, and now there's talk of slashing the lanes on Milwaukee Road. Traffic's already a mess near Froisen during drop-off and pickup, and narrowing roads will only make it worse. Heading up Henry Avenue Hill, I've waited through 3 light cycles just to cross the river, all because of the lane reductions that have choked the flow. Westsiders still haven't seen any proof these school closings help the district, but we're sure feeling the fallout from the longer commutes and snarled streets. We're not a transit-rich metro, we're a car-reliant community. Most folks aren't biking to work in a Wisconsin winter or carpooling with a trunk full of groceries. They're idling in traffic, late to jobs or daycare thanks to the road diet. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. The next 2-minute question is going to go to Sherry.
Excuse me, Tori. I just wanted to point out that Kim was raising her hand, but are we at our limit for rebuttal?
Yep, only 2 rebuttals, and I just go off who I saw first, and I keep track so that we don't have somebody with 5 rebuttals and someone else with 1.
She has a very well-organized chart over there.
That's why they invited me. Just kidding. Okay, Sherry. Beloit School District has one of the highest truancy rates in the state. Years ago, the city joined the school district in enforcing compulsory school attendance laws. Should we reinstate this partnership and renew this effort in order to reduce skyrocketing truancy rates? Please explain.
Un momento, por favor. School attendance and education rates are vitally important to our community. It is vital that we address this with facts and evidence, not emotions. It doesn't matter what feels correct. What matters is what actually works. And here's the bottom line. If we arrest parents because they have a disobedient kid skipping school, that parent could lose their job. And without a job, they can't pay rent. Simply put, making an entire family homeless will not improve school attendance. We have the data. Wisconsin law already allows for fines and imprisonment of parents for truancy. That is an issue better left to the school board to decide, not city council. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone like to respond to that? Okay, please go ahead. Nancy.
Yeah, I happen to be the executive director of the chamber when, in fact, the city was trying to make some kind of difference for our truant kids. And I recall very much there were business leaders. I was there representing the chamber and talking, from my board and et cetera, and businesses in Beloit. The chief of police at the time was there. But I'll tell you who was missing. Who was missing was, frankly, anybody from the school system. So, we made a lot of rules. It was, the fines were increased. But I am not at all sure that it made a big difference. After saying that, I just want to say that if the city can do anything to help with this issue, of course we would. But you have to be really deliberate and work with our school systems and our professionals who know what's going on.
Thank you. Any others? Yes, Kim.
Thank you. I think I would just like to add that looking back at what was done and speaking to the people that were responsible for that might be a good idea. Gathering parent input and how they think that a relationship might increase attendance for their students that are having a difficult time. Also talking to administration and asking them what they think the reasons are the kids are truant, or asking the teachers too. So gathering all that data and trying to figure out the roots is always a good place to start with the collaboration. So I think it's good to have talks, but also have data before you make those decisions.
Thank you, Kim. Moving on to the next 2-minute question, we'll go to Nancy. What are your thoughts on cities and townships sharing resources such as fire and police services?
Well, we need to govern smartly. When I was at the chamber, it was the Chamber of Commerce of Greater Beloit. And that, of course, included the city, both our townships on the Wisconsin side, South Beloit, even for a while, I went down and helped administer both the Roscoe and Rockton Chamber of Commerce's, because the truth is, this is a community. It makes it difficult for us governmentally because we've got so many things that separate us. So I am very pleased that the years of the city of Beloit and the townships or South Beloit literally not talking, it seemed to me gone. We have a city manager right now who meets constantly, weekly, with the head administrators of all of our different townships and cities, and we are getting things done. Hopefully, we are not only saving some money, which is always important and part of being a good government, but also what we're doing is being able to serve our people better. I mean, certainly having the most ambulances that can be called to help around the area is essential for our safety and health. So I'm pleased with it. I'm trusting the professionals who know what they're doing with this. And so it's not that we don't ask and wonder and talk about it, but the concept itself is I think, a good one.
Thank you. Any response comments? Go ahead, please.
Are you going to cut me off at some point, Tori, if I give too many response
Yep.
comments?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
If you have like 4 and Kim only has 1 and Kim raises her hand, I'm going to pick Kim. So I'll keep track. No,
Alrighty, thank you. I just want to say that with dwindling state aid and an obvious concern about raising property taxes, we have to be creative and work together to deliver essential services our community needs. As Nancy said, we're bordered on all sides by various communities. And the fact is that fires, natural disasters, and even criminals fleeing a crime scene, none of these care about municipal boundaries. We are not our neighbor's enemy, so I believe in strong collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other response comments? Kim.
I would say that that is a good idea to share resources to be fiscally responsible, but I think that if resources are shared, that both the city and townships should have be paying equally towards the cost of services. That makes sense to me. I know currently we share a fire chief and share ambulances with some neighboring communities. I want to make sure that as long as our services are providing the safety that we need for our citizens, then I think it's probably a good thing and fiscally responsible. But I think it's always also good to talk to the police and the firefighters locally here to make sure that they think it's a good decision too. So keeping that communication open, but definitely always looking at those opportunities.
Thank you. Our next 2-minute question is going to go to Lori. Should public transportation be free to School District of Beloit students traveling to and from school? Please explain your thoughts.
Sorry about that. Thanks for bringing this up. It's a vital question about supporting our kids and family, and as a city councilor, I do everything in my power to help students thrive. Let's be clear though, students' transportation falls squarely on the school district, not the city. Still, that doesn't mean we can't pitch in where it makes sense. With West Side middle schools closed, we could repurpose some of our underused city buses to take students from the West Side hub to an East Side. Janesville's already doing this, letting kids ride city buses, but it's worth a look to see if we could adapt their model. There's also Rock County Health Department's walking school bus program, where adults guide groups of students on foot. It's a solid start, but why not build on it? Safe routes to school matter, especially now. Since the superintendent closed those West Side schools, kids can't walk anymore, and parents are stuck navigating reduced lane roads to drop them off. In a perfect world, public transit would step up, free for students. That could cut absenteeism and give students success in a real boost. The city can also play a role by keeping sidewalks near schools clear after snow hits. It's a small fix, but it adds up. I'm all about practical support. Let's ease the burden on families and get kids to class safely without overstepping our lane.
Thank you. Are there any response comment requests? Sure, go ahead. I'm sorry, Sherry. Sherry, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I just want to say that I do favor public transportation being free for School District of Beloit students. There's still a lot of poverty in Beloit, although we've added 1,000 new jobs and things are improving by the month. But we are in the midst of a transit development plan that's considering, among other things, free bus transportation for Beloit students. I will say if we want more activities for Beloit youth, they need a way to get to those events. So I strongly favor that. Thank you.
Thank you. Nancy, did you want to go? Thank you.
I do. You know, we had something like this before. I want to say maybe 10 years ago. It was before I was on the council. So unfortunately, I don't know the data about that, but we should look at that because at the time I remember thinking, this is a great plan. And I'm sure that I cannot imagine any city council when given an opportunity to be able to help their kids, would not do it. We get down, of course, to funding and transit rules. And of course, our transit system is entirely paid for by the federal government. So, but this is certainly something that I'm sure that we would be willing to bring on as something to really consider. And if it would be helpful, be all for it.
Thank you, Nancy. Our next 2-minute question will go to Kim. Do you support the current trend of road lane reductions and bike lane additions? Please explain how you view the effects as positive or negative for the city, our citizens, and the environment.
I think the thought on lane reductions was for safety, as far as speed, to include bike lanes, also possibly to control some of the carbon emissions. And these ideas definitely have validity, but reducing lanes in a city where the current infrastructure creates heavier traffic at stoplights and major roads people use, such as Chopure, Cranston, Henry Avenue, often can bottleneck cars, especially at the stoplights. I drive that every single day to work and back, and notice that the lights get really backed up. I've also talked to a few people that live in neighborhoods near Cranston, and they see some of the traffic actually bombing through the neighborhoods to avoid the one lane on Cranston. So I think that maybe needs to take a look at traffic counts on those roads, also in the neighborhoods, to maybe take more data to see if these lane closures are in fact working. But the one thing I would like to say is that we need input from our citizens on these lane reductions. Decisions sometimes I think are made before we're getting input from citizens. And since that's already happened on some of the roads, I think maybe it would be good to revisit the data with those traffic counts in those different locations and have listening sessions to determine how people are feeling about those that are driving those roads every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebuttal comments? Nancy?
Well, I live in one of the neighborhoods that have to go out on Cranston, and I have to tell you, I was stunned. I went to all the meetings. There were a lot of meetings before the diet was put on Cranston. And first of all, I'd never heard that, a road diet, you know. But these were professionals. These were state professional traffic people who had data and said that these things work. And I just want to tell you, it has worked. I have to come out on cobblestone on Cranston nearly every day. And I've also seen the data. We've had it, we talk about it, they are analyzing it. So you are right, and I agree, but it's there. It has cut down the speed tremendously on Cranston. That's also, of course, a part of the reason for the state also has done this for the Milwaukee Road coming in. And I know it's a shock, but if it slows people down, that's what we need. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other responses? Go right ahead, Sherry.
Okay. Transportation infrastructure is really the cornerstone of a healthy community. How we design our roads and ensure transportation access to all of our residents, including those of us who live near one of these road diets. By the way, if anybody needs a bribe to let me finish talking, I have a candy bar up here. It's dark chocolate. I'm just saying. I am incredibly proud that we've allowed people to access the jobs and take part in the success of our community. In the past 4 years, we've added over 1,000 new jobs to Beloit. Before I was sworn into council, or Nancy was, our unemployment was well past 6%. Today, it's just 3.4%. So clearly, our changes to how we do roads are working because it's literally putting more people to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next 2-minute question, we're headed back down to the end again to Youssef. Many people say that we need more youth activities in Beloit. Please share your opinion on this concern, along with any ideas that you may have for youth activities or those that you may have supported in the past. For the incumbent, please tell the audience specifically how you have supported youth activities during your council service.
One of the things, and I think this context is important when we look at a lot of the questions that are happening now and trying to make decisions and decide how everything looks, is being very mindful of the fact that this is coming off of COVID, which is like one of the biggest disasters in America's history, and we handled it quite well. One of the most important things we did was allocate ARPA funds to youth programs and parks and things that can help get young people outside, because the most important thing, or one of the most crucial things when it comes to community safety, is community investment. When people feel connected to their cities and they feel like they can actually move around and walk around and, play in them, they are less prone to doing things that you wouldn't want your neighbors to do there. The city council does a great job of promoting and supporting all the different cultural events here, most of which are family oriented. I personally also collaborated with Samuel Carnes in the school district of Beloit for the backpack drive, which is really crucial. Getting resources to people keeps everything safe. But I think one of the most important things we need to do, and we can all be better at it, is making sure that young people get to our events or get to our meetings and get to our town halls. Oftentimes, they're just not. I went to one where I was by far the youngest person there, probably by 20 or 30 years. And during the whole meeting, no one, including myself, brought up childcare as a need for Beloit. And I think that is absolutely something that would be mitigated if we had more young people in the rooms there. So we need to be better at outreach and accessibility to our meetings. A lot of people working can't show up at 7 on a Tuesday or something, and I know we can't do weekends, but it's something we need to figure out truly. I think one of the silver linings of COVID was that we had so many Zoom inputs and so much was easily found online, and I feel like we need to adopt some of those practices to make our just city government run with more representation. So thank you.
Thank you. Any response, comment, requests? Lori.
It's a shame that so many youth activities have shifted to the east side, or like the new Boys and Girls Club, landed outside walkable neighborhoods. Worse, it often feels closed and rarely open when kids need it most. The old club let the ball fields fall into disrepair, which is a missed opportunity. Meanwhile, Beloit's got a gem in its beautiful Kruger Golf Course, a perfect spot to promote youth golf with some fresh marketing. The city's pool is another underused asset. Staffing's been a hurdle for both lately. Years ago, free or discounted access lured workers. Maybe it's time to start using that as an incentive. The Parks Department also runs some fantastic youth programs that deserves to keep going and maybe even grow. Our parks are stunning and we should make the most of them. I'd love to see an affordable arcade or fast food pizza joint pop up on the west side or on Madison Road corridor. Something fun for kids that could also spark new business there. Historically, parents, churches, and local groups have been the heart of youth activities in Beloit, and they still are. Nonprofits like Boys and Girls Club
We're
have
at
done
time,
wonders.
please, Lori. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other response requests? Sure, go right ahead, Nancy.
Yes, I know we've mentioned this, but when we had some of the ARPA money, there were two organizations that I hadn't known anything about. One is a boxing club that actually is, I think, housed on the west side. And it's amazing to me, these wonderful volunteers, you guys. I said this at the last time. I'm going to age myself here, but there was a program, does everybody remember it? Mr. Rogers? And I'll tell you what he used to do. He used to say, look for the helpers. And we have so many people who are trying to help. The boxing, it's all volunteers, and there's lots and lots of people. Then quickly, also the volunteers who work for the baseball. We are up to over 5,000 kids now who have joined this group of volunteers. They've been going for about 8 years. They started out with 2,000. They were begging, the parents were saying, get it older, and so they did.
Thank you. All right, our next 2-minute question, we're going back over to Nancy. Is the city responsive to the concerns of our citizens? Is the city responsive to the concerns of our citizens? Please give specific examples to support your answer.
Well, I have to say, I hope so. The city council has our number published, our personal phone numbers, so you can call us or you can email us on our city email account. So really, if you have something, it's so important, call a couple counselors. Also, I have to say that our new city manager, Jerry, has been really good about having, he takes his office out. He's been several times to the Pig. He's been to some barbershops. He's been to Dita's on the west side. I mean, you are right. It's hard. You have to really always try to get out there. And so to me, it's a sort of a privilege to be able to have somebody call me and somebody say, can you help? And not that I can help everybody, but I can at least get them in touch quite often with people who can really help. So we don't mind those phone calls at all.
Thank you. Just a quick note of order. Sherry, I apologize, I skipped you. It was your turn, but they're random draws. So we'll
Okay.
finish up the responses on this, and then the next draw will go back to you.
Okay.
And then over here, so
I would like to make
apologies.
a comment. No problem.
Sure, go ahead.
So the city being responsive to the concerns of our citizens, I'm very happy that we invite all citizens to attend Beloit City Council meetings, which take place on the first and third Mondays of every month. People can stand up during public comments and talk about anything. We had one gentleman come in who was troubled emotionally, and we helped, although we couldn't help him right then and there, we referred him to the people he needed to speak to so that later he was able to get the help we need. We've, like I said before, we've, in the last 4 years, created over 1,000 new jobs, and we brought employment down from well over 6% to just 3.4%. As Nancy said, we make every effort to listen, and people are always invited to call us on our personal numbers, which are printed on our business cards. If we don't know the answer, we'll look into it for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other 1-minute responses? Kim, please.
Thank you. I think oftentimes the safety part is one that people tend to notice with responses from the city. Fire, ambulances, if you have an emergency in your family. When I had to experience the ambulance coming to my mom's home for my dad, they were wonderful and fast and top-notch service. So I give them so much praise. Same with fire, they go hand in hand. But I think they're wonderful. So I praise all of those first responders. And I also think that we've had a few snow emergencies here this season, and I think the Public Works is also very responsive. We do need to often consider people's input continuously for that. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna go to a 2-minute question, so we're back to Sherry, because I got out of order last time.
All righty. Pick a good one, Toy.
All right, I'm trying. Let's see. Schools are being told to end all DEI programs or face the loss of federal funding. If the same directive comes to the city, what changes can you see happening as a result?
Just a second. Diversity, equality, and inclusion are important aspects for any government. Right now, with our new federal administration, there are threats being made against communities regarding DEI. But we don't bow to bullies around here. We stand up to them. Let us be 100% and absolutely clear. It is impossible and illegal for any president to sign an executive order withholding federal funding over a personal political disagreement. There is no federal law banning DEI in local communities. It doesn't exist. Beloit has the 3rd largest Black population in Wisconsin and a very strong Hispanic population as well. I will never apologize for our values or who we are. And if our president wants to break the law, we will not sit idly by. We are prepared to use our legal department to file a lawsuit to protect our city. And remember, the current president has lost a lot of these cases in court when he tries to illegally withhold funding. Thank you.
Thank you. Any rebuttal requests? Lori.
The Civil Rights Act of 1964 already sets the bar: no discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. That's the law. DEI has no legal teeth, unlike the Civil Rights Act. Taxpayers here can't shoulder higher bills to prop up these initiatives. Beloit is a diverse, hardworking town that's long excelled at giving everyone a fair shot and picking the best talent. Endless training sessions and murky diversity quotas drain our budget with little to show. If federal funds, like for housing or roads, hinge on this, I say we don't need it. We can pave streets and build homes with local grit and private dollars. Our budget's tight. Beloit has done a good job hiring. We're diverse workforce, and residents want safe streets, steady jobs, not council squabbles. Thank you.
Time. Thank you. Any other responses to this topic? Yusuf, please.
I think when you're looking at DEI, it's really important to measure the reality with it versus the reality without it. And if we don't have DEI initiatives, you will not hire the best people for the jobs. And that is just shown continuously, time and time again. We have to be very deliberate with how we do outreach. And also, so many people are included under DEI that aren't just one type of person. If you don't make your initiatives we can't say that we want everyone's input and then not do everything that we can to get everyone's input. It doesn't cost any extra money to hold DEI initiatives. It doesn't cost us anything, and the investments and returns that we get. You're right, Beloit is a super diverse city, and it is super important that we keep that diversity, but it doesn't matter how many different types of people are here. We aren't being very deliberate on getting those people to the tables that they deserve to be at.
Thank you. Next 2-minute question, we're over to you, Lori. Water pollution in Beloit is not frequently discussed by local environmental groups. Do you believe there is a reason for concern? What preventions and interventions would you support? To prevent, I don't know if it's PFAS or PFAS, I'm sorry, and other contamination of our waterways and well water?
Great question. Thank you. I'm worried that some of the agendas being pushed, like the new turf football field and Beloit Memorial High School's massive referendum, might actually worsen PFAS contamination. The field, with a mere 10-year lifespan, would sit right beside the Rock River, risking runoff into our waterways. What about the solar farms? Their disposal is a messy issue that could quietly add to the problem. It often feels like today's solutions just kick bigger headaches down the road. One's taxpayers end up footing the bill to clean up. No one in Beloit wants polluted waters or wells, and I'm committed to keeping our water safe, but not at the expense of our economy or our wallets. Here's how I'd tackle it. First, lean on what's already out there. DNR-free well testing kits to pinpoint real trouble spots, not slap costly systems across the whole city. Second, team with local industries voluntarily, offering tax breaks to upgrade filtration, not burying them in regulations that chase jobs away. Third, double down on proven fixes, maintain our stormwater setups, and partner with farmers on affordable runoff controls that actually work. Clean water is a must, but so is a Beloit that stays affordable and strong. Let's protect what matters without creating new burdens. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebuttal responses? Okay, let's go with, just do my count here, Nancy.
Yes, I think what you said, Lori, is good. I do have to say, and I only know this because, of course, I've been on the council, and so we discuss our water issues. And Bill Frisbee, we're very lucky. We've got a great guy who heads up our Public Works Department. And we do have wonderful deals with our farmers in the area. He had brought this forward, I think, twice in the last year, that they have formed even more partnerships to so the farmer has a reason and the resources to divert runoff from their the fertilizer that they're putting on their fields, so it doesn't go into our water aquifer. And so I'm thrilled that we have those things. Also, we have gone to a different system within our wastewater plant that really helps. We don't use chemicals anymore to clean our water. Instead, we have these wonderful dryers and things, and they're going to last, Lori, for years and years. One of the reasons that we bought them is the initial payment, but then it's going to be for a long, long time.
Thank you. Any other responses?
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Sherry.
I just wanted to say that water pollution is something we're aware of here in Beloit, and one important step we're taking is removing over 2,900 lead pipes in Beloit so that our children don't get literal brain damage from drinking a glass of water. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next 2-minute question will go to Kim. Air pollution. Is it a problem here in Beloit? Please share current data to support your response and explain what interventions you would support.
There are something that I think the county and or the city invested in called IQ air monitors. And those are strategically placed throughout all of Beloit and Rock County that gives us a rating on our air quality. I've looked at that over the past few months. When I first realized that we had those, I was at my Board of Health meeting in Janesville for Rock County, and there's one right out of that building. And when we went out to look, it was green. Green means it's good air quality. I know that the 2023 Canadian wildfires definitely had an impact, which we couldn't really control very much. But as I looked at some of those different monitors located around Beloit, I've noticed that every time I've looked, they're green. So I think that's a really good sign. I don't hear a lot of people talking about having bad air quality when you ask citizens. When I was collecting signatures, it's not first on their mind, but I do know that there have been some articles in the paper about it. So to me, I think you have to look at the data. So knowing about those monitors, that's a good start. Looking at other data, talking to our citizens and getting their input and asking them, do you think our air quality is good, or do you feel like you're having difficulty breathing, things like that. Always looking at data, always asking for input is the best thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any responses?
Yes.
I'm just checking both ways because I got to keep my
Oh,
tally.
absolutely.
Okay, Sherry, go
I
ahead.
do have that candy bar. It still remains right up
Nope,
here.
go right ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. Today there's an effort to put a methane plant here in Beloit, and it is projected to by itself put out more pollution in our tiny county than all of Cook County experiences. Beloit has the third highest black population in Wisconsin, and dangerous pollution is usually located in communities of color. That is racist, that is wrong, and it is always something that I will stand against. We are committed to being climate neutral by 2040 because no one should get sick in Beloit from drinking our water or breathing our air. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other rebuttal comments? I'm going to move on. This will be our last round of questions, and I'm just being cognizant of the time. This next round, there will only be one rebuttal opportunity. I want to make sure we're able to get all closing statements in as well. All right, we are back to Yusuf on this 2-minute question. Oh, I'm like, where are all my? They're all stuck on the side. All right. We hear quite a bit about the need for more affordable housing. Is there also a need for executive housing in Beloit? Please explain your response.
We need housing at every level in this city. I think it was really important that we supported projects that got us more affordable housing. I think it's really important that we support our developments in our TIF districts and trying to change different ordinances. I'm not sure if I'm using the language right, but changing the different ways that land can be used in the city to have a more diverse type of portfolio for the type of houses that we have. We need more infrastructure for like buildings and community centers and potential businesses as well. But on every level, we absolutely do need more housing.
Thank you. Kim.
I would definitely say that we could support, I would support more executive housing. I get flyers in my mailbox daily, almost daily, about, are you ready to sell your house? We're ready to pay you cash for it. So I know that a lot of people are getting those. We hear of people coming and getting new jobs in Beloit, but having to buy a home in Janesville or across the border in Illinois. So I know that one of the people that came and worked at First National Bank, literally their realtor had to go to current owners of homes saying, do you think you'd want to sell your house? And that's how they bought their house. So I think houses also give you a tax base, which supports your community. So in all of those areas, definitely across all levels, we need additional housing.
Thank you. And apologies, I do have to cut it at one rebuttal.
Same.
Otherwise, we're going to run out of time. So we're going to the next 2-minute question, and we are to Sherry.
I wonder what it could be.
Let's see. A record received from the city showed about 125 unique city bus riders each day. Considering these low numbers, what other transportation options might you consider to decrease cost and reduce the environmental impacts of the buses?
Here's the truth. We know how to make an effective transit system. The data exists. Examples across the country and around the world exist. This isn't rocket science. If you make a system that is slow and infrequent, it's not going to get as much use as one that is fast and comes more frequently. No one ever drove on a highway before a highway was built. Okay, there were the wagon trains, but that's another story. There are a lot of questions this forum has asked about road construction and traffic times. Mass transit can improve traffic. I hope that the state legislature will finally allow us to build a transit network that can and will generate more rides by offering faster and more frequent service. Thank you.
Thank you. Any response? Yusuf.
I think that this is also crucial when we're looking at how we're developing the city again, making sure we're getting input on every level, and especially from our youth who have to grow up here and have jobs and houses here. When we look at our transportation system, I think one of the reasons it's not frequently used is because a lot of times there's not too many places to go in Beloit. There's not a whole lot of reasons to use a bus until it's at a crucial time. But we still need to make sure that we have good transportation, especially for people that use it for work, but also figuring out rideshare programs or things of that nature. But again, if we develop more, less bars, if we get more, entertainment centers and community centers, I think people will then have reasons to go travel together. I remember Riverfest and walking miles as a kid to make sure we went. I would love to see things like that again.
Thank you. Back to our next 2-minute question, and this is going to be for you, Nancy. Should we continue to invest in reconfiguring main roadways, or should we shift our focus to repairing and maintaining our neighborhood streets and frequently used city roads?
Well, I mean, it seems to me that the way that is written, it sounds obviously like, why in the world aren't you fixing our roads better? It's different pots of money here. I mean, it's not one or the other. We're not ignoring some bumpy city roads, and I'm really aware of where they are at. In fact, this year, where I grew up on Emerson Street, was the first time, I think, since I was tiny, that road had even been repaired. I am so excited about it. I drive past my old house all the time. But so I absolutely believe, of course, we wish we had tons of money to make our streets beautiful and great. It's not that we're taking money away from them to do some of the road diets and the things. There's 2 state projects that are going on right now. One is the whole Milwaukee Road, and the other one is where they're going to change the configuration coming in from Madison Road. And so these have been state professionals, it's state money, which frankly, of course, we are happy to have some help in paying for some improvements, et cetera. But I just want to assure you that we should do everything we can to make traffic and roads and streets the best they can.
Thank you. Any other responses to that? Yusuf?
I think when we look at every issue, whether it's community safety, health, walkable cities, all that, including our infrastructure, we also need to make sure that we're getting ahead on climate change and supporting initiatives that harden our infrastructure for that. When we look at the trees that got knocked down, the roofs that got torn off, the river is rising every year. If we don't get ahead on that, that's also going to cause dramatic damages to all of our roads. And we need to make sure that we're really prioritizing initiatives that get ahead of that and aren't responsive or reactive. If we just wait for it to happen, we're going to end up paying way more money than if we get ahead of it.
Thank you. All right, our next 2-minute question is going to you, Lori. As a city council member, how will you ensure that citizen input is sought and carefully considered before decisions are made?
Thank you for asking this. It's at the heart of what matters most to me and what brought me on the path to public service. I personally felt the impact of not being listened to by decision makers, and had to take this fight straight to the city council because it's a matter of fairness. When a project's in the works, especially one that'll hit a specific neighborhood, residents deserve a seat at the table from the very start. They shouldn't be blindsided by a done deal too far along for their voices to matter. Property taxpayers foot the bill for this city, and that earns them the right to weigh in early, not just get a letter right before the Plan Commission rubber stamps it and the city council nods it through. Take the potential rezoning of McNeil, for instance, and the land south of it. Quietly put into the new comprehensive plan as a future housing neighborhood. How many nearby residents got a heads up? Not enough, I'd wager. That's why I would champion neighborhood listening sessions, zeroing in on areas too often left out of the loop. For major decisions like housing developments and road overhauls, I'd push for citizen advisory panels, drawn from the very communities in their crosshairs. These folks wouldn't just react, they'd help us wrestle with details before any vote is cast. It's about respect, giving taxpayers a real voice and not an afterthought. Thank you.
Thank you. Responses? Nancy.
Yes, and I have to say that, Lori, the city council did not give the go-ahead to the 6th Street housing project. And part of that was the data we had, but part of that also was always your impassioned talking, and Lori, we appreciated that. So that's, what can happen, and that's why it's so important to be able for people to talk all the time. The other thing I would have to say is that I think that any way somebody can stop me when I'm out grocery shopping or, people need to hear, and you want to have that happen, because there isn't a person that has ever been my colleague on the council since I have been on. I really didn't realize I'd been on 8 years until Sherry figured it out. So, yeah, yes, it certainly does. Anyway, there, stop.
Thank you. Okay, and our last question will go to Kim. There's 2. Let's see which one you get. Kim, what can the city do to encourage more retail stores to come to Beloit?
So that can be tough. But I actually had a really good conversation with a gal who is kind of in charge of Beloit 2000 and last night. She had some really exciting things to share with me. I thought that, I think it's always good to support local businesses and support things that families can come to and be a part of in Beloit. So always encouraging activities, but also facilities that support the family. But what she talked about to me last night is looking at some of the entryways into Beloit. So it's not necessarily the east side or the west side at that point. She talked about some of coming into Beloit, like where the old Garden Hotel was, that maybe I think the plan is to have some sort of beautiful entryway into Beloit. That sounds amazing. She also talked about the casino and the opportunities that might bring. I sort of chuckled about we're never going to get a target, but she actually had some positive things to say about that. So I got really excited about my conversation with her. So I think that was really exciting to me. The Beloit 2000, I think, has gone back since before the year 2000 when I was a kid, and a lot of good things have happened. And those are just our community members being passionate about living here. So that is great. Retail and home ownership is another way to support local businesses that are coming here. Executive housing would be helpful to have extra housing here, but also I'm really excited to hear about the AXE housing, where it gives opportunities for first-time home buyers to own their own home. So all of those ways, I think, contribute to possibly having some good retail opportunities here.
Thank you, Kim. Anyone want a last response to that question? Lori, please.
Thank you. We've got to breathe new life into the west side, beyond piling housing projects and sunshades. Picture this, a thriving corridor of small businesses and specialty shops down Madison Road, like downtown's vibe, tailored to the locals who are eager to spend and support their own. Vacant storefronts are sitting there, ready for tenants. The west side is primed to back its own economy. Beloit also needs to team up with the school district to turn it into a magnet and not a warning sign. A struggling district doesn't just scare off families, it chases away businesses looking to bring jobs and workers here. Thank you.
Thank you. That will conclude our question section. So now each candidate will have 1 minute to give closing remarks, and we'll start down on the end again with Yusuf Adama.
Again, I very deliberately go into businesses. I make sure I'm constantly collaborating in different meetings. The Black Women in Business event, I made sure I was at the different culture events I'm at, because at the end of the day, what we need to do as a city and as representatives is make sure that we understand what our citizens are asking for. Even being able to show up to a meeting is a privilege. And if we're not meeting people where they are, we're not going to get every perspective that's important. As we see these rapid changes in our culture and in our environment and everything else, I really think it's going to be the communities that get ahead on making sure they have that community buy-in that are going to be the most important. The longer we go making decisions without the input from everybody, the longer people are going to feel boxed out, and the less hardened we're going to be when things do get rough, if they do get rough. I think it's very important to be very accountable and transparent and accessible, and I really embody all of that in the volunteer work I've done in the city and the job that I've chosen and in everything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusuf. Sherry Blakely.
Thank you. First, I want to thank our hosts for conducting these forums tonight, and thank you all in the audience for your steadfast interest in Beloit. In my 4 terms on the Beloit City Council, I've become more knowledgeable about our community. I'm more aware of the challenges we face now and in the near future, but most of all, the growing positives of Beloit. I understand the processes of City Council and how we work as a vital part of Beloit government. Currently, I represent City Council on 3 boards and commissions: Beloit Public Library, Landmarks Commission, and Traffic Review Committee. I've been a hardworking member, 20 seconds, of the Beloit City Council for the past 8 years. I used to be an auctioneer. I'm responsive to people who ask for help. I am a good listener and researcher and have helped bring real progress to Beloit in areas such as workforce development, public safety, housing, and recreation. I humbly ask for your vote on April 1st. Thank you.
Sherry. Nancy Forbeck.
Thank you. Well, you can see, I think I'm the only person here maybe who didn't write out my responses. So you can tell it's maybe the old teacher in me. It has been a privilege and an honor to be able to try to help Beloiters in any way I can. Really, my whole life, in a way, I've been lucky enough to have wonderful jobs that are positive and brought things in that were fun or good for the city. And I've been really privileged that way, and I'd like to keep it going. I still think I have some good ideas, and certainly I can often talk about how things used to be, but very much because I have 2 sons working and living here, I'm interested in the future for all of us. So I'd appreciate your vote too. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori Marshall.
Once again, I would like to thank the Wisconsin Policy Monitor and Eyes on Beloit School Board for this candidate forum and for allowing me to speak here today. I'm running for City Council because I feel there needs to be more transparency and accountability to the residents and taxpayers of Beloit, the everyday people who do not feel heard or represented. I am passionate about bringing new initiatives and ideas to help grow and develop the west side of Beloit, not just the east side, which I feel has been left behind as the rest of the city continues to move forward. Beloit needs a change. We need a change from the people who for too long have been nothing but a rubber stamp on the city council, putting the interests of developers, contractors, and special interests over the needs and concerns of the people who live in Beloit. I ask you to vote for me on April 1st for new ideas and fresh perspective on making both sides of Beloit the best place it can be. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim Nightingale Schneider.
I want to contribute on Beloit City Council by making thoughtful, database decisions that are fiscally responsible. Every dollar the city spends is money each taxpayer worked hard to earn. Safety is a concern of mine and in everyone in the city. I'll strongly support our first responders, police, firefighters, and EMS. A successful city can attract businesses and families. I'll support measures to bring businesses to Beloit and keep the needs of children and families first. Decisions made by the City Council are not taken lightly and should never be made before receiving adequate citizen input. What seems less significant decision to us may be very important to our citizens. I want to strive for understanding concerns of the people and bringing a voice for the people. Please vote for me, and I'd be honored to have your vote on April 1st.
Thank you. And thank you again to the forum sponsors, Wisconsin Policy Monitor and Eyes on Beloit School Board. Thank you to the community for attending and watching online. And most of all, thank you to all of the candidates. Your public service is greatly appreciated and often unrecognized by many. So we appreciate your efforts. We appreciate your willingness to support the Beloit community. And to everybody, remember to get out on April 1st and make your vote matter.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you. You did a great job, Holly. Great.